Most people say that the Black Panther Party ended because of internal conflicts. But what if the real story involves one of the most aggressive government counterintelligence campaigns in modern American history? Internal conflicts, leadership disputes, organizational breakdown. And those things did happen to the Panthers. But that explanation leaves out something critical because at the same moment that the party was growing, building survival programs, expanding its chapters, becoming a national political force, the United States government was working actively to undermine the organization and its work. I'm Dr. Joshua Crutchfield, historian of Black freedom movements. This is Sankofa House, where we look back at history in order to move forward. Over the last several classes, we've traced how the Black Panther Party evolved. We've looked at the 10-point program, police patrols, survival programs, the Panther newspaper, the central role that women played sustaining the organization. Today, we're asking the final question in this series. Why did the Black Panther Party decline? And more importantly, was that decline inevitable or was it engineered? To answer that question, we have to begin with a simple reality. From the moment that the Panthers emerged, they were under constant surveillance. Local police watched them, state authorities tracked them, and by 1967, the FBI had identified the party as a major political threat. Under the direction of the FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, the Bureau launched a program called COINTELPRO. This was short for Counterintelligence Program, and its purpose was very explicit: to monitor, infiltrate, disrupt, discredit, and ultimately destroy political organizations whom the government deemed dangerous. The Black Panther Party quickly became one of its primary targets. And that concern was not limited to the Panthers' rhetoric or their weapons. It also extended to the programs that the Panthers were building within Black communities. And perhaps the most revealing example of this concern was the targeting of their program to feed hungry children. As historians Joshua Bloom and Waldo E. Martin Jr. note, no aspect of the Black Panther program was a greater concern to the FBI than the Free Breakfast for Children program. So for federal officials, the dangers of the Panthers was not simply in their militancy or their position on armed self-defense. It was the possibility that the Panthers were building legitimacy by meeting the needs of communities while the state had ignored those needs. And the tactics of the state were extensive. Informants were planted inside of the party chapters. Agents forged letters to sow division among Panther leaders. They spread rumors to provoke internal conflict. Police departments conducted raids in Panther offices across the country. Members were arrested on sweeping conspiracy charges. Some were forced into years of lengthy legal battles. Others were imprisoned. And in some cases, the government repression turned deadly. In December of 1969, Chicago Police Department raided the home of Illinois Panther leader Fred Hampton. They entered in the middle of the night. Within minutes, Hampton was dead. So was fellow Panther Mark Clark. Later investigations revealed that the FBI had worked with local authorities and informants in advance of the raid. And this was happening across the country. Panther offices were raided, members were jailed, and court cases drained the organization's resources. Leadership was forced into exile, prison, or constant legal defense. At the same time, internal tensions within the party deepened. Disagreements about strategy grew sharper. Should the Panthers focus on armed resistance or community organizing? Should they pursue revolutionary confrontation or electoral politics? These debates were real, but they were unfolding inside of an environment that was shaped by constant state repression and surveillance. This type of government repression doesn't just impact the leaders of organizations. It destabilizes the groups. It encourages trust to break down. Suddenly, resources that the organization relied on are disappearing. Movements like the Panthers were suddenly spending more time defending themselves than organizing within the community. So by the early 1970s, the Panthers were trying to rebuild. And as we discussed last class, women played a central role in that reconstruction. But the cumulative pressure of this repression, coupled with internal tensions, gradually weakened the organization. By the late 1970s, the Black Panther Party had largely dissolved. So what should we take from this history. One lesson is simple. The Panthers did not end simply because they were a flawed organization. They collapsed under extraordinary pressure from the government. A coordinated campaign of surveillance, infiltration, arrest, and violence reshaped the terrain under which they operated. Now, understanding that does not erase the party's own internal contradictions, but it does change the story because movements don't exist within a vacuum. They develop within relationship to the power structures that exist around them. And when those structures decide that a movement for freedom is dangerous, they respond by trying to stamp those movements out. So the history of the Black Panther Party is not just a history of a radical Black organization. It's also a story about how governments confront political organizations that challenge the status quo. And that raises a question for us today. When grassroots movements begin building power within communities, how should we expect governments to respond? Do you think the decline of the Black Panther Party was inevitable, or was it engineered through state repression? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The Black Panther Party was not perfect. No movement or organization is, but it left behind something powerful. A vision of community self-defense, institution building where the state has failed, and a generation of activists who believe that ordinary people like myself or you could reshape the world around them. Understanding that legacy requires us to see the whole story, including the forces that work to dismantle it. Thank you for studying with me.